Guns are ablazing, everyone's yelling, and everything's exploding. Must be a Michael Bay film.
Lights, camera, action.
Welcome back to the Cinema Dive. My name is Nathan, and today we are covering a film that I actually watched back when it came out, but just haven't put my thoughts out there about it yet. And that is Michael Bay's Ambulance. Now, I've probably watched a majority, if not all, of Michael Bay's films, and I think a lot of us have probably watched a fair share of them, even though they're made fun of constantly for their over-the-topness. I think we all are drawn back to them because they're kind of awesome to watch sometimes. Especially when you get someone like Jake Gyllenhaal, who probably is one of my favorite actors, doing a psychotic bank robber in such an over-the-top yet very well done performing way. Now, this did come out last April, and despite some middling reviews, it actually, I thought, was probably one of Michael Bay's best. Now, some might disagree with me on that, but I think that you had some really good performances from all actors involved, but with Jake Gyllenhaal being involved and just the character Danny, who he plays, just being this super over the top, and you see a progression of kind of control to this complete psychotic breakdown of his, is phenomenal. And on top of that, it's just a Michael Bay film, which gives you a lot of blind, just straightforward action, and that is sometimes just all you want from a film sometimes, to just have big stuff blowing up, and you can just sit back, relax, snack on your favorite foods, and call it a good night. So the premise of this film is actually simple. We have a character played by yahyaabdul-Mateen II, and I'm hoping I say his name right. He plays Will Sharp in the film, who is a husband and a father who finds out that it's going to cost about $231,000 for an experimental treatment to treat his wife's cancer. So he goes to his brother, played by Jake Gyllenhaal, character's name is Danny, to basically see if he can get a loan. Well, Danny doesn't have 231 lying around, but he says, "How would you like to make more?" and tells him about a heist on a bank that he has been planning for a while that's going to be worth $32 million. Of course, Will is hesitant, but he takes the job anyway. Well, they get set up for this. We find out another character in the film, Captain Monroe, played by Garrett Dillahunt, who's a fantastic actor as well, is basically on to them already and is planning a stakeout for this robbery. Well, unfortunately for both Danny, his team, and of course Captain Monroe and his team, a street cop who decides that he wants to get a cute teller's phone number kind of bungs the whole thing up and causes everything to go off badly. A gunfight ensues, and a bunch of their team goes out into the street with the cash, gets in a fight with the cops, ends up losing badly, while Danny and his brother retreat into the basement with the cop as a hostage, who eventually gets shot, and they have to hijack an ambulance. They remove one of the paramedics. Will gets behind the driver's seat, and they are relying on the second paramedic. His character's name is Cam Thompson, played by Eiza Gonzalez, to basically keep the cop alive. Then, of course, a big, huge pursuit chases across LA, them in their ambulance, and of course, basically all of LA's officers trying to take them down. We get impressive amounts of action, impressive amounts of great driving, and great practical effects with cars and everything exploding, just like any Michael Bay film should have in it. Later on, the SIS agents and Captain Monroe are joined by FBI agent Anson Clark, played by Keir O'Donnell, who basically says that he knows Danny and went to school with him, is basically this profiler slash negotiator to try and get him to release his hostages and give up. But Danny's own basic psychosis will not allow him to lose, and he is going from a controlled personality to a completely unhinged personality, even fighting with his brother at times. The movie has quite a lot of good action, plus actually really good dialogue with the characters inside the ambulance. Of course, Danny Sharp, who is this over-the-top, psychotic, gangster-type character, and Jake Gyllenhaal delivers that brilliantly. Yahya, who delivers Will Sharp's more reluctant but willingness to support his family by doing such a dangerous heist, and plays a much more reserved character, even though he grew up with this kind of life living next side to Danny. The only character I'd say that wasn't quite fully developed was Cam Thompson, played by Eiza Gonzalez, which I do not think is any fault to her own. Apparently on the lead up to this film, she did a lot of practice, even so much as renting out an ambulance and having a friend drive her around, and to get in that mindset to play this role as realistically as possible. But if you know Michael Bay, realistic is not quite in his repertoire. And apparently these two bumped heads on how the character should be portrayed. Cameron wanted this over-the-top feel, she wanted more realistic feel, so the character kind of just doesn't quite fit into the film as well. Garrett Dillahunt gives Captain Monroe a kind of aggressive edge and this own psychosis of himself that he has to bring down Danny at all costs, pretty much. And it makes the film just a roller coaster of an action set piece. Now, at one point in the movie, they are able to somewhat escape the police for a short period of time, taking refuge with some gangsters, the leader of which is known as Poppy, who he enlists to kind of help them get out of LA, and he will give him cut of the money. This equates to them using a remote control car that is fitted with an M134 minigun that wreaks havoc against the SIS and the rest of the officers. I mean, if you're a fan of Breaking Bad, you'd be proud of this contraption. And I'm not going to spoil the end of the film. The end of the film is intense. You're kind of rooting for them to get away, but at the same time, it's this whole fact that you know Danny's just completely disturbed in the head and that this can't be going good in any way, shape, or form. But you definitely need to go watch this film. It is so worth the watch, and just every character in it is done quite well. And like I said, Isa's character kind of faltered a little bit, which I just think that comes down to the actress and the director just having head at what the character should be. But everything else plays brilliantly. And I gotta say, as a fan of Jake, I just think that Danny's character was probably one of the most supreme ones there. This synopsis and review was quick and clean. I did leave out a lot of what happens in the film, mainly because I don't feel it's necessary to really go into that explanation as I have done on previous films, which, still trying to find my ground out of what exactly I'm doing with this channel. And I think in the future, I might go into more depth involvement and probably longer videos when I get into more of jumping into past films that I would consider some of my favorite films and dive into what they mean to me, what they did for cinema, and so on and so forth. Like I said, it's definitely worth the watch. It's just one of those fun action movies that you don't really have to put a lot of thought into. And it definitely makes for a great popcorn flick for watching on the weekend, by yourself, with friends, with family, whatever. But if you have already seen this movie, get down in the comments, let me know your thoughts on it. Do you rank it among one of his better Michael Bay films, or would you say something else is better? Or are you just so done with these type of movies? Also, get in the comments, let me know other movies that I might be missing out on, whether they're small indie projects, whether they're big blockbuster budget films, anything that you think that I would enjoy based off of what I've already reviewed so far. Also, if you liked the video, please hit that like, hit that subscribe button. It really helps out the channel and helps me out immensely. And with all that, you have a wonderful day.